Hey everybody. I think that I'm rolling solo for now until Tyler comes in, so we'll just give him some time to potentially come in. Um, Great session that Alan just had, and shout out to the fellas at Partner Hacker. I'm representing with my T-shirt here. I got it just over Christmas, and I've been probably wearing it too much because it fits so well. So thanks, guys. All right, while we're waiting for Tyler Calder, why doesn't everyone drop in where they're attending from today? I don't know if you can see the Harbor Center behind me, but I'm in Vancouver, BC. Where's everyone else at? Minnesota, nice. Utah, Atlanta, Milwaukee. Just was there. Saw a Brewers game last year. It's pretty sweet. South Korea, I used to live there. San Diego, we were just there with Partner Stack. Norway, Barcelona. Wow, amazing. This is great. Global. We're hitting a global audience. Krakow, Poland. Love Krakow. Almost died. Found a piece of glass in my salad eating in Krakow in the square there. Portugal, nice. I was just there for a month 2 years ago. Berlin, one of my favorite cities. Oh yeah, this is great. Toronto, awesome. Okay, why don't we get going? I'm not sure when Tyler's going to join us, so let's just uh, start here. Um, so I just want to introduce myself. As I mentioned, Ty Lingley is my name, based in Vancouver, BC. Right now, I'm currently the partnership lead for Microsoft Viva Goals, and I work with all of our GSIs and regional system integrators and advisory partners on what we're calling the employee experience. So if any of you out there are Microsoft shops, you'll probably already starting to hear a lot about Microsoft Viva, but the intent is we're going to be kind of the office for HR leaders delivering the employee experience through our platform. So I'm really excited to be operating this category. I am a certified OKR coach. I've been certified internally by our team, but also by a couple of our external partners, which is awesome. I've also been a part of two failed OKR programs, and I've really felt the pain of, um, you know, trying to be a part of something that doesn't work that's so crucial to your business success. I'm into all things partnerships. I used to be a previous board member at the CSA. I'm an executive member at Partnership Leaders, and I'm an investor advisor in the Partech space. And in my spare time, definitely found mostly in the mountains of BC on my snowboard or my mountain bike, or now hauling around my 3-year-old. And I'm hoping that she adopts some of my passions for the outdoors so I can spend that time with her. So let's talk about today's focus. So our objective is to introduce you to the OKR fundamentals to help you develop yours for partnerships in 2023. We're going to go through the OKR basics. We'll go through what I call a spotlight versus floodlight analogy. We're going to talk about KPIs versus OKRs, how to write OKRs, and then let's talk about a few trends. Just a forewarning is I'm gonna race through this quickly because I wanna get to questions and specific problems or challenges that y'all are having, because I think that's gonna be a lot of be relevant for a lot of you, and of course, we can kinda learn from the group. So let's keep rolling. Pulse check. On a scale of 1 to 5, in the chat, rate your organization's level of OKR maturity. Okay, so a 0 is what are OKRs? And 5, basically, you're a poster child for OKRs. So let's see what those numbers are in chat. Couple zeros, threes, twos, ones. Great. Okay, so this presentation is going to be for people who may be at 0 and you might be at 5, but mostly I made it for people who I thought would be in the 0 to 3 range. Great. Okay. Okay. Let's keep rolling. So some OKR basics. So here's a statement that I hope resonates with you, and it's good to define things. So objectives and key results are a proven goal-setting framework for creating alignment, focus, and an engaged work culture to drive business outcomes. And business outcomes are the keywords here. I find that often two teams think of their work in outputs versus outcomes. So we want to adopt an outcome-based mindset, and that's what OKRs will help us do. So objectives are what you want to accomplish, and key results are how you will measure success, how you're going to measure those outcomes. And then initiatives or projects are focus efforts, those projects and outputs that help you achieve key results. So that's just simple terminology that I hope clarifies things. So really when we talk about OKRs, alignment is this foundation of impact, and OKRs are a way to align mission all the way down to your own team's OKRs. And really it's a way to move quickly towards focused impact. And so if we look at the hierarchy here, a company's mission, vision, and values and strategy really has to be in place in order to effectively utilize OKRs. If your company is still struggling to figure out why you exist, to figure out the future state you're after, or really the broad priorities of the company, you're really going to struggle with OKRs. You need to have that set, and that's the work a lot of my partners do. Is they come in and, from a strategic perspective, really consult leadership teams on getting this right and translating that strategy into execution. So, in the hierarchy, we go from mission to vision and values to strategy. If that's in place, okay, let's have our company start taking a crack at our objectives and key results. And our objectives are what we're going to focus on in the near term. They might be your annual 2023 OKRs. And key results, all they do is they answer the question is how will we know if we've reached this stated objective? Once the company's done that, then the partnership team can come in and take all of those inputs and start to craft their OKRs. Okay. And for the most part, probably in the environments you're operating, a tops down, bottom up approach works best, where teams take that direction from the company's OKRs, then decide on their own OKRs, which are most appropriate to drive the desired outcome for the company and, of course, the partnership team. You can create your OKRs in a silo, but you'll definitely be missing a key ingredient, which is alignment. And that's really crucial for supporting departmental buy in. You'll likely need to succeed. Um, so these are the benefits of OKRs, or what I call the superpowers. These are important to understand because once everyone's bought in and around these, it's really it really sets the foundation for OKR adoption and why we're using them. The why is critical. So OKRs drive alignment. Basically, they're ensuring everyone understands how their work ladders up to higher level strategic priorities, and the organization is rowing in the same direction. Next, we have focus. The best practice I would say is to have no more than 2 to 4 OKRs per quarter. This supports the prioritization process and helps your team stay focused on those and avoid the trap of everything's important, so nothing is important. Transparency is key. Visibility on desired outcomes across the organization really creates clear accountability. It helps build trust and fosters cross team collaboration, and making sure that everyone understands their roles and responsibilities, and that they're clearly defined. And also, moving on to the next one here, in a world where things can change drastically overnight, I often find that business leaders find themselves needing to adapt. Of course, I'm sure you're all doing that right now. OKRs help organizations with adaptability. That's second to last point there. So, how can we adapt quickly to both internal and external risks and opportunities? OKRs provide this window into early indicators that allow you to move quickly and decisively. And finally, the last superpower that we talk about is growth. The OKR framework really encourages teams to set their OKRs with aspiration, setting a stretch target that is perhaps a little bit uncomfortable. These aspirational goals can help a team think outside of the box to achieve more than hopefully they ever thought possible. So these are the benefits of OKRs, or the superpowers. Uh, Next piece is floodlight versus spotlight. And this is an important concept to understand. So here's an analogy that I'd like to keep in your mind as we think about partnerships, OKRs at your company, is that OKRs are really best used to shine a spotlight on the strategic priorities of your partnership team at any one time versus a floodlight. So if we think of a stage, when you're watching a play or a show, if a floodlight's on, you're looking at everything as opposed to a spotlight. So we don't want to shine a floodlight across everything we're doing because then nothing is in focus. And of course, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. So what are the 2 to 4 key things you and your partnership team want to shine a spotlight on this year or in this quarter? We're not going to shine a floodlight. That's business as usual. And the way that we can best kind of test this is to make sure that an objective is doing one of 3 key things. It should be driving growth, driving change, or driving innovation. And I'd argue if it's not doing one of those things, it's basically business as usual and not an OKR. And to test this again, we can ask ourselves, is the objective doing something new, something differently, or driving a significant change over previous results? And if it's not doing one of these things, it's probably not an OKR worthy, and it's more, business as usual, because really that word significant is really important. So an example is if we want to go from 10 partners to 1,000 partners, that's really a significant change that deserves an OKR. If it's adding 10 to 20%, I'd classify that as business as usual. And business as usual, another way to think about it might be KPIs. And so often, one of the biggest questions we get asked by CEOs or leadership teams is helping them define KPIs versus OKRs. And I'm going to give you guys a quick analogy in order to help you do this. Okay, I got to credit one of my partners because they use this one over and over again, and it really works well. So let's imagine that the ultimate mission of your company or even your department is where you're trying to get to. So the destination in your car ride, that's the ultimate end goal. And you can see we're in a nice new Tesla here. So in your car, you generally have pieces of information in front of you, the dashboard, which contains things like the speed you're going, the battery level, engine temperature, water level. They're very similar to your KPIs in that they're basically your health metrics, right? They tell you if you're going to survive the journey. For example, in a business, it might include like cash on hand or burn rate or employee customer retention. For partnership teams, it might be the number of partners in your program, engagement levels, how many leads you're generating, things that we want to monitor and stay at a healthy level. Otherwise, we're not going to survive the journey. Our OKRs are, on the other hand, like our GPS on the right-hand side. They tell us how we're going to get to our destination and the steps that we need to take. What are the key decisions that we're going to make? And what is the key information we need to know? And we all know, of course, that routes change depending on the circumstances. So, for example, if there's an accident, we don't just sit there. We're going to use our GPS or our OKRs to navigate a better route given the new information we have. So this isn't to say that KPIs can never feature in your OKRs. At the end of the day, key results are metrics, KPIs are metrics. So if a KPI is the best way to measure the success of an objective, we may use it. Or if a KPI falls into the red zone, like our partner engagement drops off a cliff, we might use an OKR to bring that KPI up back on track. Just like if like, our battery level is getting low, we'd use our GPS to bring us to the next charging station. So we use our OKRs to bring that health metric back up to a safe level that ensures we'll survive the journey. But we don't just sit there and leave it in and measure it forever. So I hope that's a helpful analogy to differentiate between KPIs and OKRs. How to write OKRs. I'm going to whip through this. Here's a formula, simple one to use. So, how to write an OKR. We will, here's where your objective comes into place, as measured by your key result via the key initiatives or projects that you're going to make it come to life. So that would be a good OKR statement is to write it in that format. So an example, we will deliver a revamped partner program to delight partners and grow our user base as measured by an increase in our partner NPS score from 40 to 50 via conducting market research initiative to identify top partner delights. So that last piece might be one of several projects or initiatives related to driving that key result forward. Let's give a partner example. This is a real life one that I've just seen recently. So, the objective was crafted to diversify the types of partners we work with so that we're able to move into and win new markets. The first key result was to create a new category of partners and recruit 100 in new markets, which of course is a leading indicator. The second key result was to achieve a quarter million in revenue and partners in new markets, lagging indicator. Key result three, achieve a minimum of 5% market share in each new market. Again, another lagging indicator. And the key initiative related to this was a complete revamp and overhaul of a partner program. Trends to mention that I'm seeing related to partnerships. So, one, of course, now is a focus on attributable partner sourced revenue versus influence. I think partnership teams are really being asked to tie direct revenue impact to their work. Related to OKRs in general, organizations, I'd say, are postponing discussions of setting OKRs at the individual person level. So what they'll do is they'll roll out at a company level first, then the department level, and probably stop at teams, because going down to the individual level is just too cumbersome, and they want to make sure that things stay focused at a higher level to reduce the amount of conversations that are needed. Third OKR trend is the number of OKRs an organization sets is trending down. I'd say it's around 3 objectives with 2 to 4 key results versus, 5 to 7 objectives I've seen in the past with maybe 5 key results per objective. Way too many. Objectives now are including a why now statement, and a why now statement is a really powerful way of ensuring there's an alignment on the essence of why the objective is in place. Why now? And then the last is, I've seen this in a couple Slack groups, is debate on the merit of shared OKRs between partnerships and other departments. One side of the camp is we know how to move the business forward. We know what's important to partners. We're going to set our OKRs and go after them. Another camp, of course, is other teams are critical to our success, sorry, and we need to share OKRs. Sharing OKRs can dilute ownership and the impact that one individual is really able to kind of lead on their own. But I think there is merit in both scenarios. I tend to lead more towards shared OKRs, especially at early stage SaaS companies. If you want to dive deeper into what we're talking about today, I've written a post for Partner Stack that really gets into the guts of OKRs for partnerships, how they create alignment, transparency, and impact. There's also a link to a Google Sheet that has a lot of free partnership OKR templates. And we'll send out the links to that in the chat today, or we'll follow up with you on that. And now I'd like to just kind of pull back and head into the Q&A. Tyler, if you've joined us, happy to have you come in and facilitate that. Or not. Looks like he's not here. So I'm not a one-trick pony, guys. I can handle moderation too. Let's get into some questions. If anyone has any, please drop them in. Aaron, thank you very much. And I'll do my best to answer any specific scenarios you might be going through. They might be right down to the partnership team level, or you can talk about OKRs in general, opening up the floor to anything. Let's read through some of these comments. Man, this is good. Thanks, Nico. Uh, all right. Chris writes, what's a good reporting interval for your OKRs? Good question. That is something that needs to be decided in an OKR program. So I would say that there needs to be a playbook that's set at your company level that help define how you're going to operate in OKRs. So the first might be one that you've just mentioned, which is what's our reporting cadence? Is it going to be annually, quarterly, by half? That's really important. So, I mean, I've only operated on a quarterly basis. One trend I've seen to companies that are newly adopting OKRs is to set them in thirds as to not disrupt existing rhythms of business or add more calories to those rhythms. So I've seen a lot of companies roll them out by thirds. I think quarterly is healthy if you're a bit of a mature organization and you have existing rhythms of business that operate quarterly. I do think it's important to tie OKRs in that way. It's really important that they're baked into your rhythms of business, and it's a part of your culture. And so that's why we work with a lot of our partners because OKR software is not the solution. You don't throw software at the problem. Really, there's all sorts of change management, there's org design, there's communication strategy. You need to set up a center of excellence to train OKR champions. They're going to help, you know, help the organization succeed with OKR. So there's a lot that goes into these things. Do you think that OKRs can be seen as micromanagement in some companies? Perhaps, but like to me, the older I get, process sets you free. So if you're stating what you're going to be working on and how it's going to impact the organization and everyone else agrees, that's great. It's like, you wake up every day knowing what your purpose is, how you're going to have an impact, and how that's going to be measured, as opposed to that not being known and then getting into weird one on one debates about how you're having an impact or what's the word. It's like, here's what I'm doing, here's how we're measuring it, here's where we're at. OKRs, if you do them right, they cut out a lot of wasted time. You're allowed to meet with other stakeholders and have really good conversations, right? Because everything's there. Here's what we said we're going to do. Here's why it's important. And here's how we're measuring how we're doing. What are the blockers? Let's get to those first, as opposed to like muddling around and like, what are we trying to do? What's most important? What are our goals? So I don't think that OKRs are micromanagement. If they feel like micromanagement, you're doing them wrong. They should set you free. They should be something you look forward to because it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. Do you think that OKRs can be okay? What else is there? What's the biggest pushback on kickstarting an OKR program across the business? I would say, some people don't want to have a spotlight shone on the work that they're doing. They don't want to have a measurable way to know if they're succeeding or not. So, I mean, I think there's sometimes a lot of shyness on actually exposing the work that people are doing and how it's having an impact. I think. Um, you don't A rule of thumb is you don't wanna start OKRs, like, at a company that I work with, like Microsoft, we rolled out org-wide to our department, which is 50,000 people. The only reason we did that is because we had executive buy-in from Satya Nadella. We had set up a PMO around implementing this. For the people that are on the call today, I think that you need to start small. So the company should definitely start first. Your executives should start first. Those executives should know OKRs in and out, and they should be modeling the behavior that they want throughout the organization. So my reco is always to start small at the executive level first, have them go through a quarter of setting OKRs, having a review cycle, which is really important to look back and see what went well, what was a challenge, what would we do differently, then go through another quarter of OKRs, and then I usually start bringing in L2, L3 leaders to roll those out across the organization. So I think it's really important to start small. It's time for one more quick question. And by the way, if anyone on this call wants to speak to me directly or would like to connect me with their leadership team who might, need a little bit of consulting on OKRs, I'm happy to help. I'm also happy to make intros to partners who do this work all day long. I think it's really, really important work. If the companies doesn't have an OKR culture set up, then how's the partnership team going to succeed with them? So it starts with your CEO and team. Last question here. New partner programs often jump to revenue as their main KPI. What are some other KPIs that new programs to lean on to show value of the program? Right. Good question. So OKRs are definitely relevant by stage of where you're at, not only in the company's maturity, but also in your partnership maturity. So it might be MBOs in the beginning. If you're first person in, like having that strategy set first is really, really important before you start to dive into your OKRs. So you need to construct a really good strategy first. It has everything from, your ideal partner profile to your values to the process for recruitment, engagement. You need to have a strategy in place, your own strategy, your own partnership strategy before you set OKRs. Usually when you get into early stage ones, it's gonna be for me, it's a little gray in the beginning. It's like, in the beginning, it's a number of interviews I have with potential partners if I'm just starting from scratch. I wanna interview as many people that I think are ideal partners in order to help understand, you know, what matters most to their business. How do they like to work? What do they dislike about working with software companies? How can we be of most value for them? So I want to measure the number of interviews I'm having with potential IPPs first to help me shape that V1 of what our ideal partner profile is. So that might be an early one. Then as you progress, it might be number of partner touch points, like pipeline that you might go into recruitment, number of people that have brought in through engagement or any sort of training you have. Then you get into maybe lead sharing or maybe co-sell pipeline, then get into co-sell wins. And then, maybe after 9 months, a year, or whoever you deem appropriate, then get into revenue. I think, throwing revenue at a new partnership team is detrimental to their success. So it depends on where you're at in your partner journey and the maturity of the organization. But I have a kind of progressive framework that I have. That template that I have has OKR examples from like first person in early stage SaaS startup to enterprise partnership programs. So have a look in there if you want to see what's there. Alex is kicking me off. Yeah. Okay. Great. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Yeah, if you have any questions, Ty Lingley at Microsoft.com. Reach out, hit me up. Thanks, guys.